Why do some golden periods last longer than others? This is a frequent question that people ask, appertaining to their own experiences. Of course, some of you don't get the golden period, you get the bronze period. But where you do receive the golden period, that glorious, wonderful, interesting, sexy start to the relationship and entanglement with the narcissist, you wonder, mine didn't seem to last very long. Why was that? Or, compared to other victims that I've heard from through reading the comments, etc., towards your videos, HG, mine seemed to last longer than theirs did, or shorter than theirs did. Or, more usually, there is a direct comparison between what happened to you and your golden period with the golden period of someone who came before you or came after you. And of course, what I would reinforce is that you shouldn't be concerning yourself as the length of the golden period of your predecessor victims or the ones that come after you. That is a breach of no contact. You need to look to your own defences. But it remains a valid question, and it is one that I'll answer. First of all, of course, it depends upon where you are in the fuel matrix. If you're a secondary source, non-intimate secondary source, being family member, colleague or friend, or an intimate partner secondary source, either of a shelf variety, someone who's been dating the narcissist, or a more high-profile mistress, or a dirty little secret, which is also a secondary source of an intimate nature, invariably you have extended golden periods because, 1, your interaction with the narcissist is less often, meaning your fuel is unlikely to become stale. 2, because you are not with the narcissist all of the time, or nearly all of the time, you've less opportunity, in essence, to threaten the narcissist's control, to require a corrective devaluation to be meted out at you. And therefore, when it comes to secondary sources, other than when there's corrective devaluation, or when you're placed on the shelf, and you can be placed on the shelf in a manner whereby you're not devalued, it is merely a suspension of the interaction between you and the narcissist, a golden period could run on for years, decades. A narcissist could have a particular friend who they've been friends with for 20, 25 years, and has always treated that friend well for the reasons that I've described. And therefore, the golden period with regard to a secondary source varies purely as a consequence of the length of time there has been the ongoing interaction between the narcissist and the victim. Of course, the question most people want to raise this in relation to is the golden period of the intimate partner primary source, the wife, the husband, the boyfriend, the girlfriend, the partner, the cohabit, the narcissist. Generally speaking, the golden period for an intimate partner primary source lasts somewhere between 6 to 18 months. It can be shorter, it can be longer, but it would be extremely unusual for it to extend beyond 2 years. Why does that golden period end? Basically, the intimate partner primary source is fuel becomes stale, resulting in devaluation, or for another reason, it isn't provided as frequently enough or as in large enough amounts, resulting in the devaluation. Sometimes it might occur as a consequence of threats to control, but that's less likely. It is all to do with the fuel provision, whether it's stale or whether it's not frequent enough or in such large enough amounts. And that brings about devaluation. With regard to a short golden period, that might be because you've provided so much fuel, you spent so much time with the narcissist to begin with, that your fuel became stale very quickly. More usually, however, with a shortened golden period, that is the case where it appertains to 2 other factors. The first is that your behaviour is such that you threaten the narcissist's control to too great an extent that the narcissist is forced to switch to devaluation to try and control you. Alongside that, what else might happen is that when you have that switch to the devaluation, the narcissist may find somebody else very quickly who outshines and outguns you. And therefore, a short golden period can be occasioned as a consequence of either you have provided so much fuel that it's become stale at a very early juncture, or all of a sudden, because of your actions, your fuel provision has dropped off in frequency and amount, or you have just become too difficult for the narcissist to control for some reason, and therefore devaluation occurs as a shift to draw alternative fuel from you, i.e. negative, or to control you through the devaluing behaviour. Somebody who has a longer golden period than you, it's purely as a consequence of the fact that their fuel has not yet become stale. It might be, for instance, that the narcissist isn't interacting with the victim as much. They might work away from home, for instance, or they both have demanding jobs, so they're not in one another's pockets as often. Or they haven't faltered with regard to the provision of it, so that it's still being provided at a decent frequency and amount. And alongside that, the victim has not threatened the narcissist's control. It's not the case, as sometimes people think, that one fuel source is vastly superior to the other. What you've got to remember is that the potency of the fuel is linked to the status in the fuel matrix. Therefore, the potency of one intimate partner primary source's fuel is the same level of potency as another intimate partner primary source. So if you're comparing yourself to your predecessor, who used to be the intimate partner primary source, their potency when they were the intimate partner primary source is the same level of potency as you when you are now the intimate partner primary source. Where it differs is in relation to frequency, how often you're providing that fuel, and the amount that you're providing. There can be differences in that respect. Allied to that, challenges to control also, then that means that taken in the round, the appliance that went before you may have been more compliant for a longer period of time than you, and therefore you are essentially seen as a malfunctioning appliance, bringing about the end of the golden period. It isn't the case that you're somehow not as good or they were better than you in terms of looks and intelligence. That might actually be the case, but that's not to do with the golden period. What it is to do with is the issue of the fuel and issues appertaining to control. So, those who have a longer golden period, who are the intimate partner primary source, all that has happened is that the narcissist has basically not become tired of their fuel, or they haven't failed with regard to the amount and frequency of the provision, or they haven't done anything to threaten the narcissist's control, although that tends to be less of a concern in the elongated situation, where you experience or you see somebody else or suspect that somebody else has had a shortened golden period. Then it may be the case that that individual has provided far too much fuel far too soon, or that they have suddenly stopped for some reason providing it at the right level in terms of amount and frequency. Or it might be that they have challenged the narcissist control to such an extent that the narcissist finds them too difficult to control through benign methods and has to switch to the sustained devaluation. It's also worth bearing in mind this. You might think that they're the intimate partner primary source, but they're not. And in actual fact, what happens is you think that the golden period that they are receiving is the embedded golden period of the intimate partner primary source, and it isn't. What you're witnessing is the golden period of a secondary source, and that can be derailed in a variety of ways. They are too difficult to control. Or, and this is more usually the case, another intimate partner secondary source outguns the one that you're observing, and the narcissist switches to them and seems to lose interest. In effect, they shelf the first intimate partner secondary source and concentrate on the other one. So be aware that you might be thinking that somebody is getting an extended golden period or a shortened one as an intimate partner primary source, when actually they are not, and they are the intimate partner secondary source. If you are in any doubt as to the status of that individual, first you should be asking, why am I focusing on somebody else in the fuel matrix when I should be focusing on my defences? But if you do need assistance and reassurance with regard to those factors, you can do no better than to organise a consultation with me and furnish me with the relevant information, and I will interpret it all for you and give you the answers that you crave. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.